Yo, 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 what's up, y'all? You are listening to the Lazarus Affect podcast, and I am your host, Lazarus Ross. Let's grow. Let's go. Aww. What is up, everybody? It's been a while. We are back with another episode of the Lazarus Affect podcast. And I have a wonderful, amazing guest. My wonderful friend, Briana Theroux, is here again.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good.
Awesome. I'm excited to throw down about this because I post about relationships, you post about relationships, and it gets spicy sometimes on your page.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So we are throwing down today about a topic that may be sensitive to some, but we don't care. If you get sensitive or you get butthurt, this podcast is not for you. We love you, but listen at your own risk. So
yes.
We are going to be throwing down today about the red pill rage, the rage of the red pill, how it impacts relationships, and the dynamic of masculine and feminine energy.
Yes.
So be peppered. So before I share anything about my experience with that, you're the guest. So share what gets you talking about this subject.
Yeah, so I've been online for a while, and I just see a lot of these men on Twitter mainly. That's where you see a lot of the red pill stuff, and it's bled into other like Instagram and Facebook too now. But it started in the Twitter sphere, like, I don't know, 15 years ago. And it was a movement to build men up initially and to help them understand evolutionary biology. But it got really warped somewhere. Kind of like feminism, like it started to give women rights to vote and rights to work, and then it got warped somewhere, right?
Yep.
And so that's where we're at now, is that it's just turned into a bunch of hurt men that want to subjugate women and make them their slaves, and they think that they're morally inferior, kind of like the flip side of the feminism coin, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's where we're at now.
Yeah, 100% agreed. So I did not know about red pill 15 years ago at all. I first got turned on to red pill, early 2019. I think I was at my wife's parents' house on Christmas 2018. And a friend of mine, I remember putting up a picture of me, my wife, and my kids, and my wife was kissing me on the cheek, and me and the kids were kissing, making the kissy face toward the camera. This is when we still lived in Dallas. And I remember my boy hit me up. He said something, and then he said the red pill, and I was thinking the Matrix. I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. I was like, yeah, red pill, yeah. The Matrix, whatever. And then we had another conversation, and it was nothing about the Matrix. And he sent me to the godfather of the red pills YouTube channel. And I went to his YouTube channel. He told me about the books. I immediately went to Amazon and bought all the books. I started listening to the channel, and I ran through that channel like crazy, because at the time I was still trying to figure some stuff out in my relationship with my wife. Like, I did not understand what was going on. So I was trying to figure some things out, and I ran through all of that stuff, and it resonated. A lot of it resonated because guys do experience this stuff.
Yep.
And it misses the boat on a lot of different things.
So that's how feminism captivates a lot of women too, is because there is some truth in there, right? They tell you a truth and then they try to give you a solution, but the solution that these two paradigms are offering are not helpful. Like it's not the real solution. The real solution is encouraging polarity and respect in a relationship. And both these paradigms are about who has more power.
Mm. In your experience, does feminism not, well, I can speak to my experience of it, but from your lens, does feminism not try to create any polarity?
No. Well, I mean, they try to put the woman as the masculine archetype,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that's not how it naturally, most women don't want that. I mean, some do, and that's okay. I think that everyone should run their relationship how they want.
Right.
But most people want the man to be the masculine archetype and the woman to be the feminine archetype. That's what most people desire. And
Right.
feminism flips that.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. So red pill doesn't flip
No,
that
and it's
at
more,
all.
I think red pill, what I mean by it's the opposite side of the same coin is that they both use their pain from the opposite sex to
Right.
motivate them. The outcomes are completely different on them.
Right.
But the ideology is the same. Like it comes from the same origin. Red pill is more about never letting a woman in because she can hurt you, right?
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
Yep. Never let her in. Always be in control, no matter what happens.
Yep.
Which is
Not
insane.
human.
Which is what they're trying to do is when they say hold the frame, what they're trying to do is maintain the masculine structure, but they're doing it in an overbearing way that doesn't allow deep connection.
Yep.
And in my experience, it doesn't create the kind of safety in the relationship that allows that deep connection. The safety where a woman feels like she can talk about anything that she needs to talk about, where she can bring anything to the table. That's not how I experienced red pill at all.
Yeah, so a woman can't soften into her feminine energy when dread games or all this like manipulative stuff is occurring because she stays in fight or flight. Her nervous
Right.
system never turns off. And
Right.
so they don't experience the authentic connection, but I don't think I've talked to some red pill advocates on Twitter, and I don't think they want that. Like I think they got hurt and they're like, we're not doing that anymore. It's like they're scared to be hurt again.
Yep. And so when a person is, this is something I've learned about safety. So safety, there's 7 aspects of violence, and these aspects of violence, when they're always there, but safety is freedom from these 7 aspects of violence. And these 7 aspects of violence are hurt, harm, loss, injury, pain, deficit, or death, whether it be our body, our emotions, our mind, our money, our relationships, all these different things, our constructs, our ideas can be hurt. They can be harmed. And then this can create trauma, when someone responds to it in that manner. So these 7 aspects of violence, when it comes to women being able to speak up, women being able to express themselves, whether it's in the way that they, I have my opinions on clothes and all that kind of stuff for at least my relationship. And like, everybody's not like that. People have different self-expression, right? So when someone's self-expression is not honored and not welcome, how are they going to feel safe?
Yeah, they don't.
They won't. And like you said earlier, their nervous system will be in fight or flight. And these guys, I was one of them. I mean, when I learned something, It's like, okay, I'm going in, I'm going to learn it, and I'm going to do it. And it helped a little bit, but then I saw like, this is not getting me what I wanted, because I want what I have now. I wanted what I have now.
Yes,
right?
a deep connection.
The
Someone
deep connection. Yeah.
to be there for you. Like that's what we all want, is to have that trust with someone, that we can trust that they're going to be there, even if we're not the best versions of ourselves in that moment, right?
Yep.
Not that they're just going to like cut us off.
Mm-hmm. So I noticed with me having gone through all of that stuff and I ran through all the first two books. The third book came out pretty quickly after I got into that world. I ran through the entire, at the time there was a page called the Red Man Roundtable or something. You know what I'm talking about?
No, no,
Okay.
I didn't read that.
So you know who the godfather of the red pill is?
Rollo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So there was the Red Man channel or something, and it was a roundtable. Him, entrepreneur in cars, his name is Richard something, and a bunch of other guys. They would get around basically get on Zoom and do roundtable meetings every Saturday live. And then they would be recorded on the channel. So I ran through Rollo's channel. I ran through that channel. I started going through Richard's channel, and I ran through all of these dudes' channels like nonstop. So I was deep in it. And I started to see some things that helped, but then I started to see certain things got worse.
Yeah.
And I was even feeling more disconnected from my wife, even though I felt like I was healing some.
Yeah. So I can explain too the paradigm of what happens in that too. It's avoidant men. That's who developed that, right? I'm an avoidant attachment style. Wow. Okay, yeah. Okay. Most of the time women are not avoidant, but we all they're more anxious. And so that's what it works into. So the red pill stuff never worked on me because I'm avoidant myself. So I don't play those dread games. I pull back too. But that's not a healthy relationship. Me as an avoidant, I want to be moving more to a secure base.
Yeah.
With my partner. Not playing these avoidant, anxious loops indefinitely for the rest of my life. Like that's not a healthy relationship.
Nope.
And that's why you felt like more disconnected, I'm guessing. Like I can't, I'm not you, but that's what I'm guessing.
No, that's correct.
It was happening.
I mean, I can assume because I've studied this kind of stuff. I would just say I was the avoidant one and she was the anxious one.
Yeah.
So my avoidance created more anxiety when really what I was trying to do is help create a world where it was less of it. But I didn't understand safety at the time. So I still wasn't feeling safe. I'm trying to really at the core of it, I'm trying to help her feel safe, but I'm not safe.
Yep.
And I'm creating more unsafety by playing these fucking games.
Yep.
And man, we have kids too.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I'm saying? Like
that's life though. We're like all on our own journey to learn, right? And I've done tons of stupid shit too on my journey. Like we're just reaching for answers, right? And this paradigm's completely, it takes people into left field and doesn't give them what they want. I think if people really wanted to learn about evolutionary biology, they should go read some research on it, not read Rollo's, which he can't even read the papers because he summarizes them incorrect. When I've read some of his summaries, I'm like, you're using deductive reasoning here. It's not because of his
bias, right? And the lens that he created through the forums and all that stuff since he started, writing in those forums and the PUA forums in the early 2000s.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is he's been married this whole time, right? I think he got married at 29 and he's still married to her.
Yep. He's married.
But he's trying to teach people how to pick up girls. I'm like,
yeah, a lot of, well, you know why he did that?
Why is that?
Well, this is why he said he wrote those books. He started writing the books because his brother-in-law was married to the guy who's married to his sister, right? His sister was doing a lot of the stuff that they write about these girls doing. His brother-in-law killed himself.
Oh my goodness.
And so that's what took Rollo down this path of trying to figure this stuff out of why guys hang themselves and why are guys having these experiences of they're going into these relationships and they are basically following the old fairy tale Disney feminist
idealistic
right?
love.
The fairy, following all of that. But then when it doesn't work, they feel like, what the fuck?
There's no options. Yeah.
There's no options. It's not working. And this is what, whenever I read that, when I was reading his first book and he was talking about that, I was like, damn, because that's what I was doing.
Yep. Most men do that. So that's an anxious avoidant like cycle though. I don't think that he went into this with bad motives. He probably had great motives.
Right.
But what happens is once you start making money off of a belief paradigm, you don't, like, most people will not change their stance.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that he knows now, like, I can't imagine this hasn't been brought to him. Like, we're learning more and more as research unfolds, right?
Yeah, he's a behavioral psychologist.
Yeah.
So it's interesting seeing it because I mean, I even me and a homie created a Facebook group and there were some guys in it. And like now all of these guys, all of the same guys, like, yeah, there's some, like we were talking about earlier, there's some stuff that comes with it that, was useful. But then there's other stuff that we all noticed was like, no, that's not working.
It's really good for setting boundaries and having an abundance mindset. I think those two things are necessary for robust mental health. And it does help men get there. Yeah.
The crazy thing is the abundance mindset for me didn't come until I started doing it was there in my head, right? Just as an intellectual thing, but it wasn't in my heart.
Yeah.
In my body, where I really knew that. And I'll just say this before we get into any further conversation. One of the things that really helped me turn my relationship with my wife around and be able to communicate with her deeply was letting go of it has to be her.
Yep.
So I was able to invite her into what I wanted to experience and what I wanted and needed. And be like, you want to meet me here?
Yep.
And this shit has never been better.
Yeah. And I that's how I approach relationships. Like, you're going to meet me here and it's okay if you don't want to. But this is the way that I'm going to live my life. Right. And if you don't want it, that's fine.
Yeah.
And that right there is how everyone needs to frame it like that. Not like you're the only one that's going to complete me or fulfill me. And it's just two souls coming together.
That's crazy. So if somebody is listening to this right now and they're in that, what would be your advice?
In Red Pill?
Yeah.
I would say learn more about attachment styles. I think that is where things really shifted for me. Okay. Learning my own dynamics, like I'm avoidant. And so a lot of their stuff really like resonated with me in the beginning, the stuff the men wrote. And I'm like, I think like a man. And it's not that I think like a man, it's that I'm avoidant and they are. And that's what they're writing, right?
Right.
And so I think reading about attachment styles is where everyone should go.
Yeah, attachment styles helped me when I first started doing healing work, like deep healing work in when I really started deep stuff was 3 years ago. And then 2 years ago, the program, you saw me get that certification with Master Trauma and Psychedelic Informed. So once I got into that, we had to read a part of the program is reading tip 57. You know what that is?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so it is a medical I don't know if we call it a medical journal, but it's called Trauma Informed Practitioner number 57. And it's like 380 something pages long. So it's all about how emotional trauma works. So all the attachment styles, understanding complex trauma, all these different things were in there. And when I ran through that, after I had was already doing work for like a year and a half, it opened my mind to so many different things that it was, okay, I understand. It helped me understand more deeply things that I was experiencing and had experienced.
Yeah, it's
so
you
much.
Even get upset about like some of the stuff that you used to once you understand this. Like it was almost like you were acting out like your childhood wounding, and once you see it, you can't do it again. Like you're just like, I see it.
That's exactly what I was doing, and a lot of people do it, and they don't understand. Well, we talk about trauma, but then we don't talk. Then it's about, well, there's CPTSD too, and that PTSD doesn't just mean you went to war or got in a car accident. Like that's not what that means, and it can be so subtle that it's easy to say, I don't have trauma.
Yeah.
So
I think it's like a layer of an onion too. Like I don't ever think I'm going to be done undoing all this stuff. Like always there's something that unfolds and unfolds and unfolds, right? That's what life is unfolding all this. That's the purpose.
This is how I see it. Agree. We, on this earth plane, when we're done unfolding, we won't come back.
Yep.
I won't need a body anymore when I'm done unfolding in this, and I've learned everything I need to learn in the human experience. Why would my soul stay?
Yeah.
That's how I see it. So we're never done. If you're here, you're not done. You're learning something.
Yep.
So attachment styles. On top of attachment styles, I'm just going to add, if you want to create a connected relationship, the first thing I suggest you focus on is go back and listen to what I said safety is and what is freedom from. Those 7 things are 7 aspects of violence. So if you want to create a fulfilling relationship, start with the ground of safety. Safety in all of the aspects. Then you can connect with your person or any person that you want to connect with. And then you get to fulfillment. So many people are trying to get to fulfillment and they don't even feel safe.
Yes.
You get to fulfillment if you don't feel safe.
Exactly. And if you're doing that within a relationship, you have to have a willing participant. Like someone has to be on the evolutionary path with you. And this is also why I'm not against divorce.
Right.
Is because if you marry someone young and that person is, we all know that some people are just younger souls, right?
Right.
They're just not here to learn anything. And so you need to find someone to unfold with you.
Who's willing to go do that.
Or you're going to be very unhappy. Unless I've known people to stay in relationships and they are on their spiritual path and their partner is completely like tuned out. But usually seekers cannot engage in a relationship like that. It's very superficial.
Yeah, I hear you. And that's a whole nother podcast.
Yep.
Dang, that's crazy because whenever I started to see all this stuff, I remember one of my coaches being like, don't coach your partner. And I took that as gospel. So I get it. I don't take it as, I don't think it's a 100% accurate statement
Yeah.
anymore. Because there's times where I have. And
I think that's important
Mhm.
to mirror back and forth. And you
Yeah,
unfold each other. Like it goes back and forth and back and forth. It's a dance.
it is. So you and Alex, y'all did this. Y'all sat down and was like, "Hey, this is what I want. This is what I want." And y'all were very clear about that before you got married. I know you
Yep.
were picky as shit, right?
Yeah,
And you talk about it on your social.
yeah, everyone calls me that. I think
Well,
it's
that's
just
not a bad
because,
thing.
well, and I also think it's because I'm avoidant, and so I see the world through a very like masculine lens. I do.
Okay.
And so my husband's avoidant too, and they say two avoidants never work together, but we work really well together. It's because we both moved to a secure base together over time,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay.
But we're both the same. We both came into the relationship. These are our guidelines. Like we either agree to them or we don't. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and that was my second marriage. So I did not do
Well,
that the first time around.
you learned your lesson
Yep,
after the first one.
definitely.
So I had to do that while married
How'd that
because I
work?
didn't. What's that?
How'd that work out? Good.
Well, I mean, our relationship is been awesome now.
That's
Like
amazing.
I did not. There was a point where I told you earlier that I had to come to that piece inside where detaching from if it was her or not, and that was hard as shit because my
Yeah.
parents got divorced when I was 18, and I didn't. I'm like, I'm out of. I'm. They got divorced what a couple months after I graduated, so I'm like, shit. I'm 18. That doesn't bother me. Shit. Yes, it did. It
I
bothered the
almost
fuck
think
out of
it's
me.
worse.
And I could point to a whole lot of actions and behaviors that I took that I was the way I was being that how I handled that emotionally, not anything they did, but how I handled that emotionally played a big role in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I was afraid of us getting divorced and my kids having to experience their parents getting divorced. I was making myself the villain, the victim, and the savior in the situation. So I'm in this big old trap of trying to save everybody. I'm trying to save my kids from experiencing divorce. So I'm not speaking up for what I wanted and what I needed because I just wanted it to work out so bad. I didn't want to be that statistic, even though I don't disagree with divorce. But I didn't want my kids to experience the pain that I had experienced. So I was avoiding the fuck out of a lot of things.
I think the only way out of divorce too is doing what you're doing and doing what I'm doing, like doing the work and growing with someone.
Yeah.
That is the only way. You can't subdue yourself to avoid a divorce. Like a lot of men do that. And so I do get the red pill, like some of their things they say are true. Like men are afraid to divorce women, right?
Yeah.
Because of
Yeah.
the divorce statistics and how they get hammered in court. But
Right. The
my,
money thing and all that,
yeah,
and being able to see the kids and certain mothers holding certain things over their father's head so they can't see the children and all that kind of stuff.
yeah. See, so I take a different approach to
Mm-hmm.
that as well too. 92% of men that file for custody of their children win. It's these rumor mills online too telling men that they're never going to get their kids that make them not try and make them hopeless in these marriages too if they find someone or if they find that they're not compatible with their partner and
Mm-hmm.
need to go through a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that's why I think that we should prop men up with real statistics, right?
Yeah, always. Um, so the that I'll share what I did with being able to communicate with my wife. So this is a technique that I learned that I've been sharing with people. I share it with clients that I work with that have, relationship stuff. It's called disarming the bomb. So, we generally avoid because we're afraid that there's some bomb going to go off that we don't want to go off. Whether it's someone that we're in a relationship and they are very highly emotionally reactive to the point where they explode, like they get loud, slamming cabinets type person, storming out, threatening, that kind of stuff, wanting to have loud fights. Or it's a person that completely just shuts down and doesn't talk and stonewalls and is completely shut off. That's a bomb too. Or the getting divorced, or using sex as a
manipulation tactic,
as a punishment,
yeah.
Right? So I learned this thing called disarming the bomb, and it's going in to so what you already, pretty much everybody already really knows what they want to experience in relationship. They know it. They might not have written it down and gotten very clear and detailed about it, putting it out on bullet points and writing it on paper. But pretty much everyone already knows what they want, but they're not saying anything because they're scared of the bomb. So to disarm the bomb, you go into the conversation without keeping the other person's defenses down. And being aware that other people, especially if you're in a relationship, if you're doing this sort of work that we are talking about right now, that we have done, right? But the other person in the relationship has not gone that deep. You got to be aware that you can play a role in somebody's emotional triggers coming online.
Yeah. If they're not ready, especially.
What's that?
If they're not ready for that, especially.
Right. Because when people feel, even if you're not attacking someone, if they feel attacked, they will go on defense, period. So the idea behind disarming the bomb is being tactful and skillful in your conversation and in your communication, so that when you go in, you are doing your best to keep that person off defense, and so they don't feel attacked. So you go in and you make the whole thing about, hey, I want to have a conversation with you, but first, there's a couple of things I want to say. Are you open to having a conversation? Yeah. Okay, cool. Before we jump into everything, you start to list off everything that you're scared of. I want to share these things with you, but I'm afraid that this is going to happen. And this is what I said. I'm afraid that you won't understand me. Maybe you won't want to listen to me. You either won't want to meet me where I'm going to be asking you to meet me. Possibly we will get divorced, and then our kids will experience divorce. My parents got divorced when I was 18. I don't want my kids to experience that, so I'm scared of that.
Yep.
All of those things. I put all of this stuff on the table, and it was about me being afraid of what I was afraid of.
Yep, and that's so it doesn't explode. That's amazing.
Yeah. And then I also prefaced it with, and this is my belief, I believe that we are all whole and complete, perfect as we are. Like God, creator, whatever is perfect. How the fuck can that something perfect create something not perfect? So even all the stuff that's negative and that is perfect, but we have free will and we can choose on what we want to participate in. So I also said, hey, I love you for you. You're beautiful. You're a wonderful mom. And this isn't flattery. This is what I fucking know.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
This is true. This is what I honestly feel. You're beautiful. You're a wonderful mom. You've been a wonderful wife and supporter and a great teammate. And there are some things that I noticed that I have been avoiding. that I want, that I realized that when we first got married, there are some things that I didn't bring up. We didn't have conversations about, and some things that I wanted that I convinced myself that I didn't. Are you willing to listen? Yep. And then go in. And it's all about these things that I want, not things that she's not doing.
Yes.
Because that can put her on defense.
Defense. Yep.
All about these are things that I want to have happen in my relationship. These are things that are not happening in the relationship right now. This is how I want my relationship to be. Are you willing to meet me there? And it had nothing to do with something that she was doing wrong, because she wasn't doing anything wrong.
Yep.
She was just being her.
So that's a perfect masculine frame too, because the masculine leads, and that right there, you go in and you lead her to her safety. That's beautiful. It really is.
Yeah. I learned that, and I was like, yeah, we're doing this. That's what I'm going to do. And being able to go into conversations like that completely shifted my whole shit.
Yes. And so this is the real, like, tools that men need too. If men want to be leaders of society and take women out of this like feminist narrative, you have to lead them into these conversations exactly like you just pointed out.
Yeah.
Like soften them into the conversation and tell them what you need. That's very direct communication. That's very masculine communication.
Yeah. And that's what these dudes don't, masculine communication does not mean that you are dominating the conversation.
And it does not mean aggression. No.
It doesn't at all.
No, it's exactly what you just said. Like, that's exactly a masculine lead into a conversation.
So I would like for you to expand on what I'm about to say, please. But what I've learned in masculinity is like you were saying, there's masculinity should bring in a structure of safety. Okay. And safety, yes, Red Pill has it right. Go make money, be the provider. That's my opinion. Like, go make money. That's part of the safety thing. But don't get stuck there, fam.
Yep.
You get stuck on being the provider is money, you're missing a whole other 90% of the game.
Character development. Like,
what's that?
They miss character development 100% when you just focus on money.
Oh, I got a story. But I have a story about that. So money is part of it, but her mental, emotional, spiritual safety, that's a big deal. Why would some of these women, they don't care about your fucking money because you're being an asshole. She doesn't feel safe. She doesn't feel like she can say anything. Her emotions aren't welcome. Her full expression isn't welcome. If she gets angry and she needs to scream and yell, that gets shut down. So if she gets angry and she needs to scream and yell, but it's okay for you to scream and yell, that doesn't make any sense. All of her should be welcome.
Yes.
Or gets to be welcome.
You can't claim that women are the like emotional creatures too, and then get angry at them.
When she gets emotional.
Yeah, that's just the nature of the woman, and the man is supposed to lead her out of that state. It should be short-lived. And if he's in his masculine frame, it will be short-lived because he will lead her back to calmness. Mm-hmm. I've watched it happen. Like, it's so beautiful.
Because the dude only gets angry because anger is, again, I didn't say this. Anger is a mechanism that comes online when something isn't safe. Anger is trying to protect something. He gets angry because he doesn't feel safe because he doesn't know how to navigate that.
Yep.
So if your girl is getting emotional and you're getting angry, what doesn't feel safe inside of you? Because safety is your number one ground rule. That is your number one thing to focus on, you being safe. If you feel safe and you know how to navigate safety, you will help her come towards it. You can be a safe person, but you can't make her feel safe. You can't make her feel safe, bro.
Yep.
You can only be safe. and create safety for yourself and show her what it looks like.
And most of those fears come from being afraid to be alone, die alone, be alone. Like most all fears trickle down to that root fear. And so if you eradicate or deal with that fear, usually all the other fears go away and you can hold your frame or whatever. Like I do believe people have a frame or a container that they work within, and the man is supposed to have the stronger frame to hold the feminine in. And so if he gets rid of that fear that he's going to be alone and die alone, then usually he can hold his frame.
Right. So I'll give a little bit about, if you feel like you're going to die alone, what part of your game, let's just use that word. Okay. What part of your game is off? Is your fitness off? Is your money off? Is your mindset off? Is your ability to walk up to a girl and just strike up a conversation, is it off? Is your confidence off? Is any of those parts off where it could use work? Tell the truth about it. Be honest about it. No shame necessary. If you feel shame, feel it all the way through. Stop avoiding it and go and change it.
Yes. You mentioned game too, and it made me think a lot of their game, like the pickup artistry stuff, that really does not work for high confidence, like women that are on a spiritual path. Like that stuff would, like, men tried that with me too. And I'm just like, this is so stupid. I don't
like what? Give me. So I haven't read any red pill stuff or any, I haven't read any of that stuff for a long time. Right. So give me an example, or give the folks an example.
Oh, I couldn't think of anything other than like spinning plates, maybe like the dread game with other women.
Okay, dread
right?
game.
So if a guy was to do that and making himself elusive and acting like he was dating other women at the same time as me, I would be like, okay, I'm not investing in you because I know my worth, right? But that's what they tell those men to do. And that's only going to attract anxiously attached women that want to prove their worth to this man.
Yep.
It is not going to attract secure or avoidant, but it's not going to, you want to attract secure, ideally, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's not going to attract that. You're going to end up with anxious, and then you prove your beliefs over and over because you only attract one type of woman.
Right. So before we keep going, I want to share a story real quick. I told you this in your comments, but I want the people to hear this. So I was working at a restaurant, and the hostesses sat 3 dudes in my section. And the hostesses, you know, they knew me, and they know how I am. And they came over to me and they were like, these dudes are assholes. I was like, dang, why y'all say that? And this one girl, Haley, this lady, I don't know why I call people who are in their early 20s, I still talk to them about it like they're, you know. Anyway, this lady, Haley, she was like, you'll see what I'm talking about. I was like, all right. So I start talking to the guys, and they're all dressed well. They're all fit, you know, good looking dudes, whatever. But they had that air, it was like visceral. So it was this visceral air of cockiness and assholish.
Yeah.
And they said that they were waiting on girls, right? And I remember talking to them, and they started talking to me about my muscles and all this shit. And it's like, yeah, we're waiting on these 3 girls we met, and these bitches better show up. And I'm just thinking like, oh, okay, heard, I get it. They're talking about how much money they make and how they look good and all this shit, but they're waiting on these women and they're talking shit about them while they're waiting on them.
Yep.
That's that next level red pill shit. I could smell it. I was like, oh, that's red pill.
Yep.
So that's not it, boys.
No, so I have a funny story too.
Also, they did not show up.
Of course.
The girls didn't show up.
And even if they do, they won't come back again. Like when I was dating, I had this guy, he took me to this like art party or something. And before we walked in, this was like our third date, he asked me to lie about my age to his friends, telling them I was 24. I was 34 at the time. And I knew right then it was like red pill shit. And I'm like, so if I look good enough to pass for that, then why would you want me to lie about that? I blocked his number. I blocked his number after that.
Yeah. Also, dudes, if you are older, whatever that means to you, right? And you are going after, trying to catch or date or whatever it is you call it, a younger woman, and you're lying about your age, let me ask you this. Deep down, do you want a woman who tells you the truth? Most likely, you want a woman who tells you the truth and who is honest with you. So if you want a woman who tells the truth and who is honest with you, what makes you think you can go around lying and being dishonest and you are going to get that?
Exactly. We mirror.
You're going to keep attracting people who are lying and dishonest if you were doing that.
Proving your own beliefs to yourself.
Exactly.
Over and over.
Over and over and over again. What else you got?
I don't know.
I think, well, we covered masculine and feminine dynamic. Men create this masculine structure. Women need to be able to soften into it. And we talked about the red pill stuff. We talked about
so I think that's what a lot of the feminist stuff is too. We hammered on red pill a lot, but a lot of the feminist women they don't feel safe. They don't trust men. And to get out of that feminist era, we have to have strong men lead us out of that. Like, you can't just black pill it up and say, fuck all women, right? Like, you have to be strong. You have to work hard, learn to communicate, lead a woman, and show her that you can be there, and then she will soften. I was very, like, self-sufficient until I had a man that showed me over and over and over that I could soften.
Alex.
Yes, and no one has seen that softness from me, ever.
The crazy thing is, it's like, we haven't even met yet, and in person. And it's obvious as shit, just us being connected on social media. I mean, of course, we're friends. I consider you a friend because I text you and we have these conversations. But before you met Alex, like, it was very noticeable.
I was very masculine.
This woman she's fit, she's pretty, but she's very like, look here, motherfucker.
Yep.
Get out my face. You could tell. And not just from your content, but you look like fucking Mean Girl.
Yep.
Right?
That is me.
And, okay.
Or that was me.
Yeah. But now it's completely opposite. And it's awesome seeing it happen.
And that was 100% a man's doing, because this world is really hard. And I grew up like in a very unsafe situation. And so I had to learn to survive. And so your masculine does come out. And so would not have softened without that man leading me into that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he has to be the one to initiate. You can complain about feminism and all this like boss babe stuff, like all you want, but it's really a byproduct of there not being enough masculine leaders.
I had a boss babe conversation this weekend, and it wasn't that. It was I was having a conversation with a lady, and she was sharing some stuff about, you know, her relationship, and she was like, dang, man, you know, like I was that high-powered boss bitch. I got this strong, independent woman shit. And then some stuff happened, and she, you know, her thing changed. She's like doing a business now, and she was just sharing these things. And she was like, I need my man to have the mindset you have. I was like, well, I mean, I've had my own journey with coming to that mindset, right? Because I have my own conditioning around the allowing the woman to be independent and not taking her power away.
Yep.
Which is we could do a whole nother podcast on that. But listen, men, hear what she just said. Hear what she just said. She was the fit, blonde, pretty, mean girl. Get out the fuck out my face.
I'll get it done.
I'll get it done. I don't need your ass. You always wanted men, but you didn't. She was like, I don't need you.
Yep.
But now look, Alex came through and did his thing. And only because he came through and did his thing has she been able to soften. So if you want your girl to soften up, if you want your girl to listen, and you want to lead, and you want her walking with you and not nagging you and bugging you and fucking with you, you need to stop nagging and bugging and fucking with yourself.
Yeah.
And get out of all of that bullshit conditioning that has taught you that you have to dominate her in order for her to listen. Domination is not going to help her soften up, bro.
No, I think leading is the better word to instill in men's head.
Yeah.
Lead her back to safety. Lead her back to safety.
Lead her back to safety. I think we crushed it.
Yes, I do.
We always do. I appreciate you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. You and Alex are doing a killer job over there with that baby boy.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome when he grows up and the kind of young man that he is.
Yeah, he's getting so big.
It's crazy. He's going to be 3 in January. Nah.
Yep.
5 months.
It's crazy.
Yep. Well, that's a wrap. Catch y'all on the next one. Peace. I appreciate you coming through and listening to the podcast. If you haven't already subscribed, please go ahead and do that. And if you know somebody else this podcast can help, share it with them. Let's go. Let's grow. Aua.